Well, it's a very flattering first image. Interesting. Okay. Well, it's a stream of mine without some technical difficulties. Okay. It's happened a few times, but here we go. Oh, this. Why is this happening? Oh, it's always happening this kind of something like connected to the wall. How much battery? If this thing is 100%, I'll just not charge it. Yeah, battery's basically dead. That's not good. What's a streamline without some major? Alright. Whenever I fix this, you'll know. Wait for it. I think we're good. You got it. Okay, so this looks. Let me save this. So I think yeah. Um, let's not load this. Yeah, I would love to start the stream, but is that gonna set in a good place? Is it gonna keep moving? Yes, it is gonna keep moving. It's gonna keep going down to the point where I have to move up. It's not. Okay. Well, just move the desk up. Pros of having a standing desk. Okay. Whew. We're here. We're streaming. Camera is working. Let me change the filters up a little bit. Let me. Whoops. Okay. There's two of me. That's I know it's quite the sight to see. There's only gonna be one soon. Right. I don't know if that made any difference, but I'll copy over the settings. Boop, 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 boop. Alright, I still want this to be a little bit higher, so let's move this up ever so slightly. Okay. I think we can finally, actually, start the stream. Isn't that great? You know, when you're not spending all this time trying to figure out how to charge a camera. Okay. I'm tempted to shift a little bit more, but I do not feel like messing with the shot I already have. So, let's get comfortable and let's actually get into this. So, the stream is going to be a fun one. It's going to be one where we're going to go over a lot of higher level stuff. Higher level I usually am able to go over because I'm trying to make top level content, but now we bounce it out. So my current plan going into this is I'm going to stream 6 videos as I always do, but instead I'm going to be doing a popular level video, a depth video, popular level video, depth video. And popular level video, I mean something very basic. I mean, I guess to a lot of you guys, you would see it as a very advanced thing. I don't know. But when I think of the content I can make, I'm like, dude, I can make something so much more in-depth and so much more insightful than what I'm talking about. But when you're doing YouTube, you can't just springboard into the very boring stuff. Like, because the thing is, the good stuff always takes forever to explain. You get whiteboards out, you have to draw stuff, you have to explain. The video's 40 minutes long, no one really likes it. They only like it when they like you, and you can start going into it, or your target audience is already inclined to videos like that. If I'm being completely honest, the videos I'm making for my target audience, that target audience, you guys mostly come off of TikTok and YouTube and all this different stuff, and the videos you guys watch are usually shorter, more short and sweet. So, no problem on that. But in any case, we're going to be going over some pretty good stuff. Some very practical, good information for you guys. Alright, let's go. First video. Why Christian men need to become bad people. You know, all this time, you've heard Christian men need to be good people. You know, to be good, you need to be good, you need to be good. And I agree that we need to be good, but what do they define as good now? What is good? What's good is being very agreeable. What's good is being very docile. What's good is not sticking up for the truth. So at this point, we live in a society where being bad is actually telling the truth. Going like, I think that abortion is bad. I think gay marriage is not a good thing. Saying all these things is very controversial. Saying all these things makes you a bad person. Makes you transphobic, xenophobic, homophobic, everything phobic. Bad person. So, Christian men are left with two options at this point, which is, are we going to be considered good people by the world? I get to finally use that term in a positive sense, because, whenever I'm talking about world, I'm talking about Christians saying that I'm worldly for saying you aren't supposed to be fat. But I actually get to use the term worldly now, in an actual proper sense of the word. Are we going to be worldly and conform to these ideas and say, you know what? Someone asked me if abortion's bad, I'll go like, well, it should be up to the states and, church-state separation, or are you going to tell the truth and say no? We live in very troubling times. And to be honest, every generation can say they live in troubling times. Even the generation that Jesus lived in can say they lived in troubling times because, well, during those times, the Son of God was killed. Right? So, all times are troubling in some sense, but because we are ultimately selfish, and we see things from our perspective, first and foremost, just true, these are troubling times. Okay, and there aren't many other times in history like this because back then there was no technology, there was no rapid rise of social media, which has been a great asset because, for instance, you're watching me. You get to learn a lot, you get access to all these books for free, you get access to all these lectures, all these documentaries, or you get access to porn, TikTok, Jacob Sartorius. I don't know why. Does Jacob Sartorius even do anything now? I haven't heard that name in so long. In any case, the point is that things get widespread so quickly. And all these things, this great asset we have, which is the internet, which ultimately I look at as an asset, and also AI. I know a lot of people like to say AI is slop, AI sucks. The way people use AI does suck, and AI is used in a lot of bad ways, but you literally have the ability to summarize 1,000-page books into a little summary. And you're able to go through that summary and go like, okay, I want to learn about this more, I want to learn more about this. You're able to go through things a lot quicker. So if you're using AI like a retard, then yeah, it's bad, it's slop, it's used for propaganda. But if you use it correctly, it's good. In any case, we have all these assets that are put forth to us. And what happens is that we always misuse them. Okay, humanity in general has misused them. We got the internet and it's funny. I think one of the first big search terms was for like tits or something. I remember there's some story about Google, like, the first thing that people searched up on the internet was boobs, or sex, or whatever, porn. Whatever. The point is that we have these assets, and these assets are used against us actively. So, we have two options. We can either go along with these things and say, well, I think porn isn't that bad, and, I'm not going to be outward about it. I'm not going to talk about how abortion's bad. I'm not going to talk about how homosexuality is bad, because then people think I'm a bad person. And that's scary. I don't want people to think badly about me. Or we're going to stick for the truth and say, you know what? No matter what anyone says, I will tell the truth. That's simply the option we're presented here. And what I see is that most Christian men, they will pose. They will talk big. They will puff up their chest and go, oh yeah, I would totally tell the truth. Because what man wants to admit that they're weak? Weak-willed. What you find is that in practice, I remember one instance, I was at a youth camp, so you can say it's not the greatest pickings, but these are the next generation. This is the mindset they're being taught. Right? I remember I just posed a question. You could say I'm a spurg for just saying this question out of the blue, but I asked, is homosexuality wrong? Is it wrong? Yeah, I might have said something that was based on something I said before. I don't necessarily recall. But what I remember is they were like, well, it's none of my business. None of your business. None of your business to tell the truth. None of your business to assert morality. This is the type of thing needs to end. Christian men need to become bad people. Embrace it. Right? At this point, if the devil thinks you're bad, then I think you're actually good. Because we're living in, I don't want to say the devil's world, because a lot of people say like, oh, well, the world's been handed over to the devil and the devil owns the world. No, it doesn't. Okay? God owns the world, and he gave dominion to humans, and humans messed it up. So the devil has a lot of influence, but ultimately it's God's. Yeah, don't be one of these retards. They're like, oh, it's the devil's world. That's why water bottles are bad for you, because they're of the world. They're a creation. They're worldly. Water bottles are worldly. Actually, water bottles are bad. The BPA turns you into a homo. So I drink out of glass, drink out of stainless steel. In any case, we live in an upside-down society. So if this upside-down society says you're bad, then that means you're upright. So become a bad person. Embrace it. People say you're bad. Say, yeah, I'm worse than Hitler. How you doing? And maybe don't say that. I mean, I say that because it's funny, but I don't know. Do you? In any case, be a bad person. Let's start telling the truth. No matter what anyone thinks. That'd be a good thing for us. W stream, thank you. So, not receiving enough video to I think my internet's spurging. How is it a red bar connection with 15,000 kilobits? That doesn't make any sense. That's 50 megabytes. My bitrate cap's 50 megabytes. So if it's full, how is there a bad connection? It doesn't make any sense. The 10% drop frames is pretty bad. They're putting chemicals in the water? Yeah, I mean, yeah. They are. I mean, they put fluoride in the water. I mean, water fluoridation, it's not controversial at all to state that the water's fluoridated. But I was talking, in that thing I was talking about plastic. So plastic is estrogenic for humans. It's not good for you. Yeah, the heat melts it, but even without the heat, it leaches a little bit. Okay, 5 more left. The next one's going to be a whiteboard one. I'll hit you all with the whiteboard streams. Alright. Alright, next video we're going to record is going to be about how to actually achieve things in your life. So this will be very valuable for anyone that wants to achieve anything. So, I'm assuming that'll be most of you guys. The greatest advantage the Bible gave Christian men is giving you the roadmap to success. But they completely waste it because they don't understand what they're reading when they read it. And most of them actually don't read it, unfortunately, although they should. So I'm going to go over exactly what I mean by all this. So pulling out the whiteboard, again, high level. I used to do a lot of whiteboard videos, a lot of whiteboard streams on my old channels, but no one really watched it. So I was like, okay, I have to figure out a new strategy, but I'm going to try to implement the whiteboards, okay? Because the whiteboards, when I pull out a whiteboard, when I start talking for 40 minutes, I'm talking about something good. So let's draw some people. All right, let's draw person number 1, person number 2. Just give them arms. Don't want any amputees in here. No offense to amputees. Imagine being an amputee and trying to eat cereal. Must suck. Anyway, so 3 people. All right, 3 people, and every human has goals. So let's try a G. Goals. That's a 6. Try a G. Goals. And they're all seeing the end of a path. So a square is like the roadmap. And they're like, okay, how do I get from point A to B? B is the goal. That's what they want to do. And usually these goals consist of a few different things. Usually it's about money. So let's draw an M for money. Let's draw a dollar sign. Chick. So chick. Girl. Let's draw a little feminine symbol. Not feminist symbol. Feminine symbol. Or happiness. You want to be happy. And every person is like, okay, how do I achieve this? And they spend their whole life trying to figure out how to get there. But most of them don't get there. Most of them are kind of on the path, but then they completely veer off. Right? Completely veer off into, I don't know, porn. So, it's over here so you can see that. Veer into porn. Alright, they go to make money, they take a sidetrack, and now they're watching a bunch of porn. And that's obviously not a good thing. So how are you able to navigate through this whole life? And remember, throughout your whole life, think about what you're doing right now. Think about what you did earlier. Think about what you did after. You're always thinking about how can you move forward. Humans are naturally made in this way to where we always want to move towards something. And this is the biggest question of life. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Why are you alive? How do you become happy? How do you achieve wholeness? Etc. So you have all these people and they have no idea what they're doing. This is the average person in society now. They have no idea what they're doing. This is why they end up going like, well, let's go watch some Andrew Tate. Let's go watch some Myron Gaines. Let's go watch some Hassan Piker. I mean, a lot of people look at Hassan Piker like a figure. So, Destiny. Let's listen to Destiny. They listen to all these different people and taking on all these different paths. But we, as Christians, are given a single path to the ultimate goal. The thing we truly desire as human beings. And that is uniting with Creator. So, let's draw a Trinity. Uniting with the Creator, God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. We're given a direct path towards it. And I want you to think about things like this. Okay? We're given a direct path towards God. So, in the sense, we should know what to do all day. Right? Ultimately, we're trying to move towards God. And the Bible gives a lot of different ways of doing that. There's things like prayer, there's things like having faith, so on and so forth. But the other advantage Christian men are not taking advantage of is understanding that the principles in the Bible tell you how to get these things as well. Okay, so that's these things that everyone wants. So we want to do well with women, we want to make money, we want to be happy, all those different type of things. These are included in the path. So what you see from one side is people just completely ignoring the Bible. And you see from another side is going like, okay, well, I may believe in the Bible, but the Bible doesn't teach about all these different things. Both those positions are wrong. I haven't seen anyone talk about this in this way, except for people that are not Christians. They use the Bible in a totally esoteric sense and without the literal stuff, so they don't actually believe that God exists, but they take away the lessons and whatnot. Unfortunately, they understand this aspect a lot better than us. All this stuff can be brought from the Bible. So let's say this, and we have happy, and we have girl. Okay, let's give some examples of how this stuff's outlined. So, money. Money's related to business, right? Business or job. So right you want to go. How does one achieve these things? Well, the very basic, very, materialist answer is like, well, you see, people have money, and people want to buy things. And if you provide a service of value, then people will give you their money. It's not actually how it works, okay? None of the deep level. That's like the surface level, like, okay, awesome, bro. So now how do I actually make money? This is the deeper level, okay? So I want to understand the fall. Maybe you're wondering why I'm bringing up the fall, but you'll understand why. The fall, what is the fall? The fall brought death into the world, right? So how can the actions of one human bring death onto the whole world? Well, it's because this is how God made the system, all right? So we have God. God has dominion over everything. He's full control. But what he did is, as it says in Genesis, God gave dominion of the world to humans. So it's not that, so the Calvinists will go like, because they would disagree with this model, the Calvinists. What the Calvinists will say is like, oh, you're taking power away from God. No. We have dominion because God gave it to us. That's what Genesis says. So now we have a human will. So it's still within God's will. There's nothing that operates without of his will. But he willed that humans may have a will. That's free will, right? So there's a human will, and this is all of humanity. So when I say human, I mean all of humanity. And then you have you. And you contribute to this human will. And this human will generates change in the world. So this relates to the fall because one human, it's two, technically. Two humans brought death into the world through the fall. And this fall led to death, which is a reflection of this degrading the overall human will. It also led to individual human wills to be defected. I don't believe in the Western view of original sin. I believe in the Eastern view, which is that we have a tendency towards sin. Every human will sin. We have depraved thoughts and whatnot. So you, with your depraved thoughts, depraved nature, contribute to this human will. So there's a question that's always asked of, how can humanity be so bad? How can humanity be so degenerate? How can all these disastrous things happen if God's in control? And the answer is very simple. It's because humans have been given control of this earth and we keep messing it up. And then they say, well, what about natural disasters? What about tornadoes? What about all these different type of things that are not caused by free will directly? And a lot of Christians stumble. A lot of Christians don't understand the answer. The answer is very simple. Free will applies to the natural world as well, right? So that causes natural disasters to happen. It causes degeneration in society. Humans will towards it. And this can be demonstrated even in other principles like, what about a house? Think of a house. Did a house just poof in there, or did people think and feel about it to make the house, right? That's how a house was made. That's how everything was made. If you look around in your room, things didn't just plop into there. Okay, people thought and felt about them. People willed towards these things. So what is achieving good job in business? What is achieving, making money from a job? All that stuff is just you willing towards it, and that contributing to the human will, and that human will creates change in the world. This is also how prayer works, right? This is why faith is so important, because faith actually changes how the world works. This is the operative principle in how things work. So this is why the Bible doesn't just say do stuff. The Bible says change your heart and change your mind. And this is how, again, how it explain how the fall can lead to death of all the world. Right? So with that in mind, like, okay, cool, nice lesson, bro. So how do I actually use this for good? Okay, so if you have any goal, which could be literally any of this stuff, right? Any of this stuff. If you have this goal, what you must do is, well, first, I would say always, you have to do first, clear your mind out of the garbage, purify it through God, and then you do this. So I wouldn't do it out of order, but generally speaking, how do you achieve things? Well, you achieve things by showing up and doing the work, right? So you do the work. Over and over and over again. Show up every day to get things done. And over time, this leads to results. What is work? Work is not you showing up and doing a job. What work is you willing towards the subject in question. You're willing towards your business, and it's like you're giving it life. Okay, you need to stop thinking in such materialist terms, because that's why you can't achieve anything. Humans, first and foremost, are spiritual. First and foremost, the world is spiritual. So don't focus so much on the physical action. The physical action comes from the thought and comes from the feeling. So if you aren't spiritually right, you can't do the work properly. Okay? So when you are willing properly, when you are able to control it, and TikTok, porn, all these different things, they make it harder for you to control it, because it's kind of like attention span. Like, willing is putting focused energy into something, right? And when you are on TikTok, you're like going like this. So then when it comes time to actually put something on, it's like boiling water. It's like cooking water on the stove. Not cooking, boiling water on the stove, right? If you take it off the heat, it's not going to boil. But that's what happens when you lose your attention. So when your attention starts withering and starts falling apart. You may realize that. You may realize that when you work, you're doing good, and then you stop working. And you're doing good, and you stop working. That's related to a spiritual issue. The issue is not necessarily that you just can't get the work done. The problem is there's something holding you back. So you can think of human has will, it's free will, to do things, and this will comes from the person's soul, but through the flesh, the soul gets corrupted. Right? So when we watch porn, we're corrupting the soul. When we were young and we were told things that were wrong, that corrupts the soul. So we have to protect younger people. Right? And through that, so the soul facilitates willing, so now you have a corrupted soul, so your will becomes corrupted. So this is when you start going like, oh, well, I want to have sex before marriage. I want to fornicate. I want to watch porn. Because, listen, some of you guys might not want to hear this, because you'll still feel very convicted from it. But when you are watching porn, you're not just, oh, well, it's just something wrong. No, you're willed towards porn. Okay? Why would you will towards porn? Corrupted. sure you're getting what I mean now. So you have to purify it through God. That's what I was talking about earlier. But ultimately, all this energy you put into here can be put into something good, like your work, like becoming a better person, right? And of course, ultimately, it should be about God. So that's why you're purifying the will through God. And always understand that God is in everything. Okay, when you work, don't see it as, okay, I spent my time with God and now I'm going to work. No. 24/7, you're living out a prayer. That's what really changing the heart and mind is. Imagine if someone said, I'm going to pray that I'm going to be a better person. Then they stopped praying and they just went out and did whatever. You think they're retarded. So don't be retarded. Go like, you know what? I'm going to say this prayer. This is how I feel. I want to do better. And live your whole life out as much as you can, as best as you can, through that prayer. Okay, that's how you actually make change in your life. That's actually how you change yourself. So when you're talking about, I want to be good at a sport, I want to be good at baseball, I want to start a business that's going to be good, I want a good wife, all this other stuff, I want to take care of myself, that's a part of your prayer. Okay? Don't divorce it from God. So if you go like, and this is what tells you if you're doing something wrong. Because if you're like, well, I want to go sleep with a girl. Can you pray about that? And you're like, God, let me sleep with a girl. Because you're going to feel convicted. You're going to feel like, I can't say that, and that's wrong. You know you shouldn't be doing these things. You know that is wrong. We'll talk more about that later, but the point is that we were given a blueprint. And the Bible talks about how, in Mark, how faith moves mountains. Now, if you pray that a mountain will be moved from here to here, and you believe it has been done, so you believe in the present tense, that I am, then it will be done for you. That's talking about this. It's talking about this. Yeah? That's how change actually happens. Change doesn't happen from you. Just sports is not just about you doing an exercise multiple times and getting better at it. It's about willing. Right? This is how you do stuff at a higher level. So you make things happen. So as for the ultimate advantage is we are given the system. We are told how achieving things actually works. And beyond that, how to actually unite with the Creator, which is through this process of faith, prayer, purifying yourself through Jesus, who came to purify humanity, redeem humanity from their own folly. We're given that path, yet we waste it all the time. So, I hope that you're able to chew on what I said a little bit and think about it and go like, you know what, okay. See what I've been doing, start taking this route. That'll be very good for you. You'll be able to achieve things a lot faster, a lot better, and most importantly, get closer with God. Okay. That was a higher level video there. Whiteboard out. So now we're going back to the top level, which is feel baby-faced, man. Shaved off my facial hair here. Be back in like a week. Thank God. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. All right. These are 3 habits making Christian men weak. Number 1, being agreeable. This will kind of relate to what I said earlier in the stream, but one of the biggest problems I see are Christian men are just way too agreeable to things. Why they say, oh, well, I'm not going to go out tonight. No, my wife said no. Oh, was homosexuality wrong? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it's none of my business. Or that one, I saw this one clip of the pastor was talking about how females should be pastors. He reads the verse that says, I don't permit a woman to teach a man in the church because of the fall. They should stay quiet. And he goes, well, you see, it's none of my business. It's none of my business. I'm not a man. I can't tell what woman what to do. This whole agreeable thing needs to stop. Okay, this is making Christian men not only seem weak, but actually be weak. Okay, it's not one of those things where, oh, we're being attacked by the world. We're being attacked by the world. They're saying we're weak when we're really not. You are weak because you don't tell the truth. Right? I'm so tired of seeing Christian men not tell the truth, and some of them don't even know the truth. Right, which is a whole different type of weakness. But I'm mainly talking about the ones that do know the truth but don't tell the truth. Okay, you have to unapologetically tell the truth. I'm not saying that you should go out and look for fights. I'm not saying you should go out and start discourse. I'm not saying any of this type of stuff. What I am saying is that if you get posed the question, answer honestly. Live your life out in honesty. Don't live your life out being too agreeable. Because it's not even a masculine trait either. And testosterone, the hormone, I know it's like a very materialist, very basic way of looking at it, but keep it very simple. Testosterone is a male hormone, right? Well, testosterone makes you more likely to disagree. You know what makes you agreeable? Estrogen. All right, so don't be a soy boy. Act as a man. God made hormones for men and women in certain ways, and the male hormone literally makes you disagree, but doesn't mean disagree with everything for no reason. But what it does mean is that don't listen to people just because they said something. Okay, don't conform to everyone. Right? It's unattractive. It's not befitting a man, and it's morally wrong. Okay, nothing worse than being too agreeable. And the second one relates to that, and that will be not affirming gender roles. So, I don't know if it's the thing I said about female pastors earlier, but generally speaking, Christian men have not been affirming gender roles very heavily. You see this in the churches with the female pastors. You see it with husbands with their wives. I mean, it's very sad that the average Christian relationship that I see now is the woman in charge. And even if the man's in charge, it's like, okay, we're going to do things like this, we do things like this. And then the wife comes in and is like, yeah, no, and then she's going to be like, oh, okay, we're going to change things now. They're just completely beholden to their wives. It's kind of like U.S. presidents being puppets, or political leaders being puppets. You know, one side is a bunch of those people, and the president just hears them and says what they want them to say, you know? It's kind of like how a lot of relationships are, or the woman is just straight up in charge. I've gotten a few comments from women, and most of the comments I get from women are positive. The female viewership on this channel is kind of weirdly high. I know I've talked about women quite a bit, but it's kind of weird for a channel completely focused on men to have 5 to 10% female viewership. So, I don't know, maybe they're here for something else. But in any case, if you don't in teen, I ain't going in. If you're not in high school, that ain't cool. DM me on Instagram if you fulfill those criteria. And be virgins only. Alright, let's not be so facetious. Let's be a bit serious. Okay? So, not affirming gender roles is a problem. And, you know, this goes back to being agreeable, because what man really wants to be told what to do by a member of a certain group? I don't want to get flagged for hate speech, but you know what I mean. Okay? So, 3, not being presentable. I have a pet peeve. Okay, and this pet peeve is seeing Christian men that are just, they look like geeks. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. You can say I'm mean, you can say whatever, but it's true. Okay, they look like geeks. A lot of them are fat. A lot of them are scrawny. It's just not a good thing. It's not a good thing to be not presentable. And you could say that, well, I just care about God, and I don't need to, you know, look good for anyone else. Okay, even if you make it about God, you have a temple. Okay, the body is a temple for the Holy Spirit. You're not treating the temple very well by being fat. Okay? And remember, looks is related to health. So if you're ugly, you're probably unhealthy. I mean, maybe you're born with cerebral palsy and you're like, no. Oh, you're like this. Okay, fine. Okay. You're in a wheelchair. Okay. I understand. I'm talking about average people, okay? Don't use those as an excuse to be fat, right? Because, oh, I have a thyroid problem. Dude, you just put so many Big Macs in your mouth. That's a problem, okay? And I could just be jokey about it, but honestly, you know, being that type of thing, it's ultimately a psychological issue, because every human knows they should walk more and stop eating so much, but they can't do it because something in them drives them to do it. It's kind of like a porn addiction. It's not just, oh, I like boobs. No, there's just void in you that's trying to be fed. But in any case, for Christian man, you have to understand that you're a role model. When people look at you, they'll go like, okay, that's what a Christian man is. What are people seeing when they see you? And, of course, this also relates to other things you want to do in your life. If you want to get with a woman, it doesn't really help to be not presentable. If you want people to listen to you, it doesn't help to not be presentable. Okay, being presentable is not rocket science, okay? People see me wear these nice outfits. I know on stream I wear a tank top, but When I go out, I wear nice things. And they're like, oh, it must take so long for you to get dressed. No, it doesn't. It's fast. Okay? I just know what to wear. And I've made a few fashion guides in my Discord and on YouTube and whatnot. But, clipped. But yeah. Very important. Be presentable. Don't be a fat slob. Don't be skinny nerd neck. Right? Gotta look the part. The Bible calls us to take care of our temples. Tells us to be in good health. It says to be respectable. All these different type of things. This is facilitated by being healthy, being presentable, and ultimately, those are the 3 habits that are keeping Christian men weak. I see it all the time. Has to stop. Has to end. It'll be good for everyone involved. All right. It's 3rd video down. 3 more to go. Oh, man. The cerebral palsy thing, that's an old joke. That's a running joke on my channel. I remember I first did that like 2 years ago on one of my old channels. It's never not funny. But, yeah, one day, they're going to take everything I said and they're going to be like, oh, this guy's such a bad person. Ah, man. I was waiting for it to happen, but, hey. It's okay. Because ultimately, I'm being myself and I'm telling the truth, okay? I don't lie. Alright, next. Ooh, this one's going to be interesting. Alright. I gotta think of how I'm going to frame this. It's not just super repetitive from last time. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to do this one. Is that really close on my Canva tab? Oh, no, it's here. Okay. The self-help lie that is completely destroying Christian men. This is going to be something that a lot of people don't think about. It's going to be something that's a bit more esoteric, so to speak. But this is very important. Okay, we're back on the whiteboard. When I'm on the whiteboard, I'm doing something good. High-level stuff here. All right. So let's look at self-improvement or self-help. I think now most people call it self-improvement. I might title this video self-improvement or whatever. So I misspelled that, by the way. I don't care. Just wasn't paying attention. So self-improvement, you know what I'm talking about. So we're looking at figures like Andrew Tate, Hamza, Myron Gaines, Tristan Tate. Who else is there? I don't know. Some random... That one rough kid. You know that one rough kid that always wears a mask on his videos? I feel like stripping that mask down and punching him in the face. Not really, but it's fine. Why are you wearing a mask in all your videos? Like, it's one of those surgical masks. Dude, it's not cool. Okay, you're just wearing a symbol of tyranny. Alright, before I get my channel banned. Okay, self-improvement. You have all these different figures, and these people all teach a form of this kind of red pill. Okay? And I know some of you guys are like, oh, well, actually, this guy doesn't really teach red pill. I'm talking about the general concept, okay? Very general idea. Not to be too specific about it. And they say, okay, you gotta work out. Alright, you gotta meditate. Well, some of them don't, but again, I'm being very general here. Meditate, make money, get chicks, etc. And all these things are great. Okay? Well, get chicks. Like, oh, we're only supposed to have one. Understanding we're only supposed to have one. When I say chicks, I mean be attracted to a woman. All these things are good. Great. But what is the foundation? What is the reason for doing all of this? The foundation, ultimately, is just for your own hedonism. Right? And then what I see, and this is something I really don't like, this is what I see a lot of Christians doing. What a lot of the Christians will do is they'll like, well, working out's bad, meditating's bad, making money's bad, wanting to be attracted to a woman is bad because that's hedonistic. That's feeding your flesh. You shouldn't do that. I mean, literally one person told me I was going to go to hell for talking about fashion. And so what we have are two sides of the spectrum. We have one side that's kind of like red pill, which is actual hedonism. Okay, it's hedonism because it's only grounded in one's self-pleasure and one's self-benefit. It's not grounded in any objective principles aside from oneself. This is why you see Hamza having these ego flare-ups. I think I talked about this last stream, but I don't know what Hamza's doing. I don't really watch him. I looked them up for competitor research, and apparently there's a big drama going on with him. There's always some kind of drama going on with him, and him changing all the time. The reason why he changes all the time is because he's grounding things within himself. And humans change all the time. There's no objective principles he's going after. So he says work out, meditate, checks all these different type of things. He's not grounding in anything. And because of that, he's having all these mental issues. He's going all over the place. And two, he seems very inconsistent. Okay? This is why he was all seen like Trav. Like, oh, I'm going to get with one girl, I'm going to marry her, you shouldn't have sex with a bunch of girls. And then he goes on this sex streak and makes videos about it. Because he has no foundation. Red pill, the self-improvement niche, doesn't give you any foundation. But that does not mean that what they say is inherently wrong. But at the same time, what they say is incorrect. Okay, it's not morally wrong, but it's just wrong in terms of how you actually get it done. So, let's give some examples. I think woman's a very good example. So let's take the average of these red pills guys' advice. Okay, woman, treat like X. Now, I'm not going to go into that criticism going, well, they dehumanize women. I mean, maybe they do a little bit, but that's not really the point. I'm very conservative. I believe the Bible speaks in very chauvinistic, quote-unquote, ways, machismo ways. So, I mean, I'm going to get called misogynist all the time, so that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a treat like for sex. Like X for sex. And that's the goal. When they give you advice, it's for sexual purposes. When these red pill guys go on camera and tell you how to cold approach a girl, they're setting you up for sex that same night. So it will work when you go to a club and you're trying to clap cheeks that night. But it's not a good thing. You shouldn't be trying to do that, right? So you're trying to find a girl to talk to for a long-term relationship. But there's a problem with that. Their advice isn't designed for that. So what you see a lot of the time is, and I'll talk more about women later stream. I'm a very valuable segment on the stream about that. But what they talk about is how you gotta treat a woman like this, and then when you go to treat a woman like that, it'll work in the short term, but then you're not there to sleep with her. So over time, you end up not embracing certain aspects that are very important for a long-term relationship. So you're trying to do this, and they're telling you to do this. And you're taking this advice and trying to apply it to this. And some things will work, but not everything. There's, there's me. But aside from this guy, okay, no one's really talking about how to apply these principles properly, how to do these things properly. And ultimately, for these Christians, right, there's certain things we're trying to do in our lives. We're trying to make money, we're trying to get closer to God, we're trying to look better, all this different type of stuff. When we listen to these people, they don't have the same foundation as us, right? They don't have the Christian foundation. So they end up getting some conclusions wrong outside of what I just talked about. For instance, when Andrew Tate talks about motivation and mindset, he speaks in a very forward-thinking way. And in some contexts, that's good. But the thing is, we're told to purify the mind and the heart, right? So we first have to go backwards, actually. We have to first confess who we really are. And that's a very difficult thing to do. That's something that everyone tries to run from. And honestly, a lot of the self-improvement, a lot of this red pill stuff is just running from themselves. Because this is something you want to avoid here. So you have a center of consciousness called the Idon. Okay? And you have a phantom. And this phantom is like your depository for all the things you want to oppress. So your mom told you, or mostly dad's probably, dad told you, you're a loser. Okay, so you have this deep-seated insecurity. Let's make it dark, because it's dark, it's like shadow. Being a loser. So, instinctually do things for the right reason. He does things to try and run from himself. I've watched his life story video. It's textbook. It's obvious that's what he's doing. But these people don't have God as a foundation. They don't know psychology. They don't know philosophy. They don't know how logic works. They don't know any of the higher level stuff. Okay. In fact, a lot of them are just very surface level people. So, when you are working with this dynamic, okay, you have to purify this. You have to, because this is like an archetype. Okay, your dad feeds your father archetype. And this father archetype is where you facilitate certain things. So let's say leadership. Leadership is going to be related to the father archetype because that's what fathers do, right? It's like this primordial image of what a father is. But if this father image in your mind is damaged, cracks, from this, your personal experience with your dad, then you can't facilitate this as well. Right? So, what we need to do in order to be happy and actually get things done is purify this. Right? You have to clean it. Let's get a sponge. Hey, no SpongeBob. There's sponge. You clean this up. Clean away the impurities. But how can you purify something? You can't purify something with yourself because that makes you run. Oh, maybe we should purify ourselves through the person, God himself, that literally came to purify humanity. So, use God. God is the principle that allows us to purify our inner being because God himself assumed this being. That was the whole point of the incarnation. The whole point of the incarnation was to redeem humanity. So we can reunite back to the Creator and come back to our heavenly form, which we were created in, but we dissented through our free will into evil. So this is how it actually works. Okay, they have this thing, and even the ones that affirm religion. It's funny because like Hamza says, "I'm Muslim" or Muslim, and then he puts up a Christmas tree. It's funny, but Andrew Tate being Muslim but breaking all the rules of Islam over and over again. You see all these type of things, and you wonder, do these people actually care? And the truth is, no. They just see religion as a hat to wear. It's like, well, the Muslims are doing cool things right now, so let's put the Muslim hat on. That's what they're like. So, they don't really take religion seriously, but the thing is, without Christianity specifically, you can't have anything they have, you can't get proper interpretations, and ultimately, you can't actually fix your problems without the Christian worldview. So, I talk about making money, I talk about working out, I talk about all the things they talk about, but I have a proper foundation. I talk about the most important thing as well, which is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Alright, that was a good one. Alright, it's 4. Alright, 2 more. Building up the portfolio. It would be awesome if I had a clips channel, someone just clipping up things, posting them. You keep all the revenue. I guarantee you it will be a profitable endeavor in the long term. Alright? You keep all the revenue. I'm not going to charge anyone for doing clips. Just make sure you link my Discord. Alright. The real reason why Christian men can't beat lust. Lust is something that, because I work with people, lust is always something that's a sticking point. And it's because we're humans, and more specifically, we're men, and we like titties. I should be honest, I'm not going to lie about it, not going to parse around it. That's what we like, and we have trouble controlling this desire. And ultimately, I want you to understand something. Okay, everything you've basically been told about this is wrong, because I always tell you, just read the Bible. And of course, I'm all for reading the Bible, I'm all for praying, I'm all for these different type of things. But if you don't understand what you're looking for, when you just read the Bible, it's just going to say, you're going to get the message, don't lust. It's kind of like telling a fat person, don't eat. It's not really getting at the core principle. Now, you can get that core principle from the Bible, but you have to know what you're looking for. So let's actually talk about the mechanisms of how lust actually works. So we have a center of consciousness, which is the idon. I was just talking about this. And this is like, I am this, I am that. It's your sense of I. And over time, this sense of I is inputted in by society and parents. Society, parents. You input things. And sometimes a lot of things they put into you are wrong. So this creates fragments, cracks, in the sense of yourself. And this leads to things being deposited into the phantom. And this is like a darker aspect of yourself. And it's the stuff you don't want to acknowledge. So let's say for porn. This is a very common one I see a lot. So let's say the mom. Right? I'm not talking about incest porn. I'm talking about your literal mom. Okay? For a lot of people, Mom might have been absent, and mom might have not given them enough, let's say, validation. Okay? So this is parent inputting into self, right? And this validation relates to the archetype of the feminine. So I call Maria. It's also like mother and whatnot. So the mom, through her actions, develops this archetype. And ultimately, the feminine archetype is supposed to be super happy. So it's like, hi everyone, how are you doing? I'm just a girl, I'm happy, I do good things, I stay home, I cook and clean, I don't say anything mean, it's good, right? Nice feminine. But when the mom comes in your life and doesn't give you enough validation, makes you feel bad and all this different type of stuff, this basically gets berserked, okay? And this is what, let's say incels are an extreme example of this. Incels have a very bad connection with that part, okay? And, my stream's lagging, it falls off. In any case, has a very bad connection with that. So what happens is that this image becomes damaged. So the things that are facilitated by this image, so the nurturing, emotion, let's say validation from the feminine, etc., all these feminine things are now going to be damaged as a byproduct. So you won't be able to properly feel them. Now, how does this relate to lust, for example? What happens is that this is disowned. Okay, this is disowned. You don't see it in yourself. You have a void. Okay, this is void within yourself. And then when you go onto Pornhub or something like that, I'm not going to go over names. I don't want to bring people into it, but I got to refer to it, right? What you see is you see tits. Like, okay, that's what you're thinking, but your soul and this part of yourself that's really acting, what they see is validation. Okay? They see is validation. Like, oh my God, but I'm getting validated. They actually care about me. So what's happening? You have this void, right? This abyss within yourself, phantom, and this, your psyche sees it as healing. It's like, wow, the porn is healing me because it's giving me validation. Obviously, it's not actually healing you, but that's how you feel about it. And if you don't believe me, next time you go to do something lustful, next time you catch yourself doing something lustful, okay, don't do it, but probably going to do it again, just being honest. When you see that, really perceive deeper. Am I really just looking at her for her shape, or is there something deeper that I'm looking for? You're going to notice it. Right, so for instance, in this case, validation. You feel like you're getting validated. That's why it's so addicting. That's why you can't stop going back. Okay, you're not just some robot zombie who's like, well, I just like boobs. No. You're looking for validation from it. So what you have to do is, ultimately, you have to go into this difficult aspect of yourself and heal this archetype that was damaged from this action. This could be a lot of different things. It could be related to the father. It could be related to aunts. It could be related to sisters if they grew up. This can be developed in a lot of different ways. Right? So when you're looking for type of thing, you got to purify. Okay, you got to fully confess this thing within you, and you have to purify it. All right. Now, how do you purify? There's something very important as we've gone over. So you've always heard people tell you got to disown your flesh, you got to deny your flesh, you got to do this, you got to do this with the flesh. And in principle, I agree, of course, because the flesh has bad desires. But you aren't supposed to disown it in the full sense. You are human, okay? And you have to understand that Jesus came for humans, right? He went for souls. And he didn't come to go like, okay, well, we're just going to get rid of all humans and you're just going to go to heaven, okay? Gone. No. He came, became a human, assumed everything that we have, as the great church father said. Whatever's not assumed is not healed. Jesus came to heal humanity, came to redeem humanity from the fallen state. He didn't come to destroy humanity. He came to redeem them. So Jesus is that purification principle. Okay, through his death and resurrection, he conquered death. Death is a result of the fall. Death is this decaying. Okay, it's not just literally dying. It's decay of the world. It's decay in the sense of you have a void within yourself and you're decaying from the inside. Every time you goon, getting worse, worse, and worse, and worse. Jesus came to save everyone like that, which is everyone. Every human. You, me, anyone you can think of. And through God, you're given an example to understand, okay, this is how the feminine archetype should be, this is how the mother should be. So even though, like, simple confession, my mother told me these things, and you start crying, you go rainbow, you go little rainbow, ooh, my mom did these things to me. And that's like your confession. It's like the pouring out of yourself. And then you understand, there's a God that cares about me, and there's this God that has given an example, given an image of what these things should be. So for the feminine, I mean, you see God caring for other people, you see Mary in the Bible, you see good examples of feminine principles. You purify through that, and this begins getting healed. Right? It's no longer getting destroyed. So then you're able to connect with these things again. And then with this awareness, you also start to realize that, I'm just seeking validation from this. And you're able to connect with this aspect of yourself. Like, okay, I'm okay. I don't need to be validated by these external things. Validated by God. Validated by myself. And I'm going to take this energy and put it into work. Put it into God. Get closer to Him. Do a good job. And there you go. Right? Now, this is a simplified version. I could talk about this for hours, but when it comes to lust, that is really what's working on. Okay? And you have to figure out what your thing's personally. I can't speak for everyone. The validation thing I'm talking about, that's a common one I see, but there's a lot more that there is. But the way you figure out is by observing. Be very mindful of what you're doing. Okay? Stop scrolling on TikTok for a second and think, why do I really want to identify with these things? And what you realize is that you're really compensating for something. And that compensation, once you see it, understand why you're doing it, you're able to pour it out, you're able to purify it, and then you can actually start using the energy for good things. You're no longer bound to your lustful thoughts. Okay, that was a good one, too. All right, one more. All right. This one's going to be a good one for you guys. You're going to like this one. All right. Let's drag this over here. Why Christian men fail with women over and over again. I've made a lot of videos at this point about why Christian men are unattractive to women, and this will serve as a deeper practical guide for a solution to the problem. And I've worked with a lot of people. I've actively seen people talk to women, both through text and in person. I've worked with them, helped them out, and seen good results. So I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm saying. So first, let's get into this. First, we're going to go over something very important. What is actually attractive to a woman? Okay, what I see it as is a trinity. Okay? Not a holy trinity, but a trinity. Tri, three, unity, triangle, Illuminati confirmed. So, it's a trinity of attraction. So let's put attraction. Yeah, let's put father. These are the archetypes that are attractive. Father, king, and outlaw. You can think of these like the attractive archetypes, and when you combine them all in one, you have the male image that women are looking for. So let's go over what each of these mean. So father, you can think of love, a loving aspect, because women do want to be loved. Women do care about emotion. They are emotional. Right? They want to be hugged, they want to be held, and they want to be loved. That's why those buttercup things you do, like giving them flowers or whatnot, can make them feel good. But it has to be balanced out by the other things. You can't over-identify with anything here. So, for example, king. King is like law and order. Law, order, and ultimately it's respect. So this is what makes the woman respect you. So let's say, what if a woman loves you but doesn't respect you? She may have desire for other men. I've seen that a lot of times. It's not a nice thing to think about. girl you're with, not wanting you and wanting another guy. But respect is what beholds a woman to a man. Okay, respect is very important. But love is also important. So you have to balance this. The outlaw. The outlaw is like this kind of rebel. And this is the principle of you can say what you want, you do what you want, and you don't care what other people say. Why is that attractive? It's attractive because she ultimately, when women are looking at a man, what they want in a man, they want someone that is able to take control and may even defy them if it's the right thing to do. What is defiance? That's rebelling in some sense. It's being a quote-unquote outlaw. And also not conforming to society. Nothing is more attractive to a woman than conforming to society too much. Right? This rebellious aspect, woman, it's like that amplifier that women find really attractive. For example, if you think of TV sitcoms a long time ago, there's always that character that came in a motorbike and had the leather jacket and had like the swagger, and women go like, "Oh my God, he's so hot," and whatnot. Right? We can think of a lot of characters like that. Women go crazy over. That's like that rebellious energy. Like this, it's gonna be a bit crass, but it's true. This is like husband, and then you add this, and that's daddy. Okay? You know what I mean when I say that. Right? So, how does this work in a Christian framework? This is the type of embodiment that the Bible calls men to. So, for instance, love your wives. The Bible says that all the time. But also, you are the one in charge. You're the head of woman. So the Bible says. So that's law and order. That's the kingly aspect. That's respect. The woman has to respect you. The Bible says that women should submit to the husband as they do to God. Respect is very important. But also rebel and outlaw. How does that fit in with the Bible? Well, it's unabashedly believing in the truth. It doesn't mean rebelling for the sake of rebelling, but it means that if your wife says something wrong, you should tell her that she's wrong. You should do your own thing. Right? You should do it with love and respect, but you have to do your own thing. You can't just listen to your wife when she says something wrong. You shouldn't do something just because she said it. I mean, think of the fall with Adam and Eve. Adam just blindly listened to Eve. I mean, a lot of biblical commentators talk about how that was an error. Right? You blindly listen to a woman. That's why the Bible says that. That's why Paul says, "I do not give woman authority to teach a man," because of the fall itself. You must stay silent. So, this is all from the Bible. Okay, these are biblical axioms. And because men are called to be this way, women desire that. Okay, it's like opposites attract. And what a lot of people I see, like the Christian incels and the men going their own way people, they don't understand that if a woman doesn't like you, it's not because you're Christian. I see this weird narrative coming up all the time about how, women just don't like Christian men. They don't inherently just not like you because you're Christian. They don't like that you don't embody the traits that they find attractive. And this is honestly how men are as well. I mean, if a woman is a whale, a walrus, fat, a hefty lefty, I mean, whatever term you want to use, Pillsbury Doughboy, or Pillsbury Doughgirl, whatever term you want to use, okay, just because she says, "Well, I'm Christian," it doesn't make you go like, "Oh, I actually find you attractive now." That's not how it works. So don't, listen, I'm called a misogynist pig all the time, but don't be unfair to women, okay? We work the same way. We work the same way, but it works differently. So, here we go. All right, we have these things. Yeah, we have these things. Okay, we have this trinity of attraction. And the reason why a lot of Christian men fail is because they embody too much of this, like, father love aspect. Right? They're too nice. They're too agreeable. It kind of relates to all the things I was talking about earlier in the stream and the stuff we're talking about in other videos. They're too agreeable. They're too nice. Right? It's going around like that all the time. And if you don't believe this triune thing that I'm talking about, triunity, trinity, I don't want to confuse this with the Holy Trinity, okay? It's just tri, three, unity, one. Yeah, that's all it is. So, if you don't believe me, there's two sources I'm going to appeal to. One, Helene Dutch, I don't know how to say it, is a companion of Sigmund Freud. She wrote 4 very large books, okay, of psychology of women, psychoanalytic confessions of women. It's basically the deepest things that women talk about, okay? It's not just going on the street and saying, "Do you like six-packs?" No. These are like deep psychoanalytic confessions going to the deepest parts of themselves. No pun intended. And What they say in there is going to make you think they're really weird. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Okay? When they have these dreams and images about a man, they aren't thinking of a little teddy bear. They're thinking of, well, like a grizzly bear doing things, even though they said no. Just leave it at that, okay? Use your imagination. Not too much, though. And also appeal to... well, I'm also appealing to the Bible. So it's 3, actually. So I'm appealing to the Bible, obviously. I explained that earlier. And 3... sip of water. I'm also appealing to experience, obviously. So I guess it's actually 4. And the 4th one is... I would actually forget. I had it. Psychoanalytic confession of a woman, and then... Alright, whatever. If I remember, I'll appeal to that later, but... Oh, yeah, no. Okay, I remember. Rom-coms, the books, and their erotic novels, okay? Don't be a gooner. Okay, this is not me supporting gooning. I don't support gooning at all. Don't goon. Gooning's bad for you. Bad for your soul, first and foremost, but also bad for your brain and body and whatnot. But women don't usually watch. They usually read. Okay, they read while they go at it, alright? And when they read these books, it's not about some teddy bear, okay? It's about something else. It kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier. So if you don't believe this, then you're fine. You can do what you want, but you're not living in reality. So in any case, let's go into here. All right. So this is completely blurred out, but this is someone I was working with, and these are text messages they sent to each other. And this is so cringe to read because it's so bad, but, you know. So this is an example of what not to do. So for context, this guy was having a really good relationship with his girl at a certain point, but then he started panicking a little bit, and that has to do with yourself, okay? If you're going to get with a woman, you have to be bright in the mind, all right? Don't go into it when you're not working on your mind, right? So, anyways, let's read this. This is the way you would never talk about it. I'm going to break down why you never talk about this. So, I've noticed during the weekdays you've been off and kind of dry recently. Is everything good? So, this is asking her how she's doing. It's not necessarily wrong, but the way it comes off is like, please, and this is how it reads, okay? Because remember, women don't necessarily communicate in words. They communicate in tone and feeling. So you have to be very, very careful about the way things you say are perceived. So, please talk to me. That sentence isn't absolutely terrible, but, okay, weird way to start. And by the way, texting is like, that's just to set things up. You gotta treat, my friend came out with this. This is a good one. You have to treat texting like sending letters. Okay, do you send a letter to have a full conversation, or do you send a letter just to set something up? Okay, you're sending a letter, you gotta set something up. Okay, do most of your work in person. But, alright, next, just asking because I really, really like you a lot. Okay, it's not necessarily wrong to say you like a girl, but think about it like this, okay? Think about it like, okay, I'm gonna go to the store, and I'm gonna buy this thing because it's nice, right? And then the guy's like, oh, thanks for coming, dude, we really need to sell to you. Please take it. Please take it off our hands. Please just take it. Please just take it. You'd be kind of like, is this thing actually good? Why is he trying to sell it to me like that? It's kind of how it is. It's like over-validating. It's too much. Okay? And a lot of the repeaters say you should never compliment a woman. That's not true. Because that's complimenting is like that love aspect. If you go to a club or a bar and you're just trying to get laid the same night, never compliment a girl. It should be very subtle. But it's a bit different when you're trying to go for a long-term relationship. There should be some validation there, but if it's too much, you're leaning too much into that agreeable, like, father love aspect, okay? You gotta balance it out. So, over-validating. And I think we should communicate more about how we feel and what's going on so we don't get the wrong path. Kind of mid, but again, kind of goes back to please talk to me. Plus, I don't want to mess anything up. That's really bad. Okay, so what? This is lack of confidence. And that's really bad. I don't want to mess anything up. So what? You're turning into... Because think of leaders. Would a leader ever send that type of message? A leader would send a very confident, very well put together message. Because women want a very well put together man. That just seems like you don't know what you're doing. Right? So it's very bad. Lack of confidence. And remember, don't take what I'm saying as, okay, I'm going to start changing how I am now so it can work out. If you can't naturally feel these things out of yourself, then you have a problem. Okay, you got to work on your mind. Maybe it's just me being an overthinker. Same thing. Lack of confidence. But I just wanted to say that I don't overthink. During my game, I'll play that. I lack of confidence. Man, that's just ridiculous. It's so cringe to read. But the thing is, this girl I was talking to is very inexperienced. Right? They're both in high school. They're both around the same age. She's never been in a relationship. And when you're with the less guys a girl's been through, the more margin for error you have. Okay? Now, it's a bit different when they're like a 35-year-old single mom and trying to just settle down with someone, but either way, the margin for attraction always expands with the more guys they talk to. Okay, even that single mom, they might get with the guy they don't really like, but they don't really like him. That's the point. So, margin of error is bigger, less experience they have. So, he gets a decent response. Not a complete dud. It's awkward now. And remember, this was unsolicited, right? So what do you want then? So again, you put the ball in her court. Never put the ball in her court, bro. Because you're a man, you're supposed to make decisions. Now, that doesn't mean don't take that to extreme. Never ask her, like, oh, what flavor ice cream do you want? Even that, like, you have to be in control. That's the point. Like, big questions like that, you should never be leaving in her court, bro. If she doesn't want it, then she'll tell you. All right, don't put the ball in her court. I can just leave you alone if that's what you want. So again, lack of confidence, and you're just like, that's just cringe, dude. It's just, I'm right cringe. God, this is so bad. Jeez. Alright, and then, I really don't know right now, but I think he's just being friends for now is best. And if you want like an update, if you're curious at all, right now it's an ongoing situation, but he seems to be doing better now. I wish he would have not told me before he said something like this, because this is a disastrous type of thing, but so he gets friend zone, quote unquote. That's not really friend zone. So what happened here? I'm really going in deep here, right? But so it's like a like meter. So this is like meter. Okay. And in this case, I gave him like a body language and physical touch escalation guide. So his like meter was going up. Okay. Going up. But to send this, like, as a principle, you should never be asking a girl, what are we? Okay, a girl should be telling you asking what we are. But this is like the like meter for this to work. Okay, it's very high. So she may have been here. But when you drop this type of question, you place a lot of pressure. Okay? When you place this type of pressure, what happens is panic. And I knew out later that she panicked. It was all analysis I did at the time. So then that leads to friends. So this is like the safe answer for her. So the point is that this was completely unsolicited, and because of this, now it seems like you got friend zone when you didn't really get friend zone. You just sent a bad message. Now, this whole point isn't a texting guide, but the point is that this is an example of what not to do, okay? This is embodying too much of this love, and also just being unconfident, okay? Like king, that's confidence. It's confidence. Also rebel. Confidence, belief in oneself. That text message displays none of that. And what happens to a lot of people, I see this all the time. People have this type of experience, and they'll go like, well, I guess being with women just isn't for me. You become a Christian incel, become men going their own way. Dude, the problem isn't women. The problem is just you. Okay? You can't be acting like this. It's not attractive. It's not going to work out. Alright? So, chew on this a bit. Right? You want to embody these traits ultimately in yourself, because this is what the Bible calls men to be. And you'll do better. Okay? The number one reason why Christian men fail with women is because they're too nice. Okay? Too nice. Doing too much of this. Okay? Doing too much of this. Do less of this, do more of being assertive, man. Alright? And you'll do well, I promise. Alright. That's the stream. That's 6 videos done. That was an absolute masterclass. Got the whiteboard out. Feeling good. Yeah, I'm still streaming. I would say about the first 35 minutes of the stream was either the starting screen or me having technical difficulties with my camera, but we made it out. We made it out the hood. And stream's over. Well, I mean, unless anyone has like any questions specific for the stream. 47 views on the stream. It's a lot for middle of the stream, but yeah, this is probably the best. This is definitely the best stream I've ever done. It's not even close. Most valuable, most well spoken, best topics. I just hope that, I guess in terms of like, okay, content strategy, how to get more views, gotta get views, gotta grow the channel. It's like, okay, are these whiteboard segments going to be amplifiers or negations? And I think, they should be amplifiers. I think I was cooking on the whiteboard. In terms of information, that was amazing. But we'll see. Don't want to put so much pressure on it. In any case, I think that'll be all. So appreciate you all tuning in. You'll see the uploads of the stream later on. And room tour. Oh God, I'm not doing a room tour, bro. That whole other side of my room is a disaster because I run my business in here, and we got all my merchandise over there. We gotta clean the room up. But we have this crossover here. I don't know if you saw that, but I have this crossover here. It's pretty cool. I got this light up here. I got a camera right here. Got a computer. I got a widescreen, ultra wide monitor, a laptop, keyboard, mouse, a drawing pad. I have a chair right here. Yeah, that's a room tour, man. But, I don't look too bad with the more stubble look, less dense facial hair, but I'm still gonna grow back facial hair. Gotta get facial hair back. Yeah, that's a room tour, man. That's advanced level stuff. It's the best room tour you've ever seen. I unironically, I do want to do like some wardrobe tours and whatnot. It might be more for my Discord, my second channel, but I definitely want to do more of this vlog style content. Oh, there's also a microphone. Forgot to mention that. It's a microphone, the pop filter here, the condom, microphone condom. So isn't so bad. It probably was bad because I did that right in the mic. But in any case, same shirt. Actually, okay, these are multiple tank tops. I have a pack of them, and I wash them. Okay, I don't wear the same one, but I wear the same style. So yeah. Class X Jumani. Oh god, I would actually love to do a stream with Jumani. I have to go out to Las Vegas, which is kind of inconvenient given my business and whatnot. But Jumani stream, that'd be funny. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I'm going to cut the stream right there. I already got all the videos uploaded, so see you guys in the next one. If you guys want to ask me any questions, of course, the Discord's always open and free and accessible there. Just ask questions channel, and type out a nice, big, long response. In any case, see you guys in that one. Thanks for tuning in.